Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Creator Jump Off podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. She is probably one of my biggest girl crushes that I have. It is the singer, songwriter, producer, the most fantastic Lindsay Lucas.
Thank you for the marvelous introduction. You're so sweet. Thank you.
I adore you, but I want to give a little bit of your bio. I mean, we're gonna kick out the jams on who you are and what you've done, which is amazing. But Lindsay, she is the voice and the pen behind iconic samples used by hip hop artists such as French Montana, Russ, ELECTRONICA, AP Twelvyy. Is it EST or EST Gee?
EST Gee.
EST Gee, Roc Marciano. You've done demos for Jill Scott. You also, I do want to talk a little bit about your parents. I got to meet your mom, and she is fucking amazing.
She's actually visiting right now too, which is so funny.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Jayne. So you're a vocalist, you're a producer, you're a rapper, you're a songwriter, you're a Gemini.
I'm
the
Cancer,
list goes on.
but I'm a
and
Gemini
on.
rising.
Sorry. I just,
Totally fine.
I was listening to your song. Was it 24/7? I'm also a Gemini rising.
Are you really? What's your moon?
Cancer.
Oh my God, I'm a Cancer sun.
Yes.
What's your sun?
So
sign?
Sagittarius.
That's right. I knew this.
So I'm lit, and then I'm chatty Cathy, and then also I just want to be home under a blanket all the time.
Dude. I just say I'm like a nice soup, like a hot, hot, but with some air,
Yes, I love it.
Oh, God.
So thank you for being here. So I guess like to start like your early life. So you have a lot of musical genes running through you. So your dad is David Lucas. He was a producer. Your mom is a piano virtuoso, writer, singer, Jayne Critelli.
Yes.
Did I say her name?
Yes, you did.
Yes. She's amazing. So tell me a little bit about like growing up in this musical household and how did that shape you? How did you kind of like come into your own as a musician as well?
Yeah. I mean, the sonic tapestry of my whole life, like just the soundtrack of my life was just filled with, it was constant music. I literally heard my parents writing songs in a variety of different genres every day to sell products. So if you think about that, that's like, it was somewhat of just like a boot camp, via osmosis, the proximity to that. I naturally just now can like write a hook in my sleep. It's just like my pedigree allowed me this beautiful opera, like this, like who needs Berkeley, not to denounce it, but I'm just like, that was all you need. Just growing, the sounds of my childhood were just it was just constant creation, music creation. So yeah. I got really lucky, I guess.
And I'm assuming too they encouraged you and supported you. Like, were you like, Mom, I wrote a jingle, or I wrote a little bit of a song?
Yes. My mother much more than my father. I mean, there's footage of like my parents being like, all right, sing it again. I'm singing a jingle or something at like 3 or 4 years old, or sing "This Tastes Good" or something, like little things like that. But like, as far as my own endeavors into music, I would say that my mother was very supportive. My father was not. He knew the trials that lay ahead of me as a woman in the music industry, which, the music industry for anyone is already the wild, wild west and just a garbage place. It's the worst. It's the absolute worst. It's the worst. It's the worst industry ever. So, if you add in the elements of being a woman, that's, I can't like resent my father entirely. I would always encourage my children regardless, but he was, I think, in a way trying to protect me from the fact that there is no guarantee, there is no linear pathway. And oftentimes some of the most talented people, no matter how much resources they have or whatever, it just isn't, it's all about right place, right time, luck, people, networking, all of that. So he was always like, all right. I mean, like, you're remarkably talented, but no, so there was a lot of that as well.
Yeah. I mean, I can empathize with both parents, and I don't know if we should get into it now because we brought it up or whatever, but it's, and we've had some conversations. I'm not in the music industry at all. I'm just an outside nerd who just like loves to
real music appreciator.
Yes, yes, exactly. I'm just like a big fan. And you shared your experience, in the music industry, and some of it was quite harrowing, and you know what? Let's just jump into it. Fuck it.
Go for it.
If that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, talk to me about being a woman in the music industry and how, like, I want to say too, so we met, I think, in like 2018.
Yeah.
We did this beautiful event with our friend Alex Jensen. She had a bunch of like different kind of creators, and I was there as like rock and roll oracle, music and she lady, and you were baking, you were cooking, you were
I was catering the event. I love to cook. That's like a whole other part of me. That's how we.
Yeah, and right, you had these amazing cookies. Wait, what was your company name?
The company was called Tough Cookie, but that was just to talk about how women are. It was just like a focus on women, personal chefs like myself, and I made a bunch of it was local, seasonal, organic, and alkaline, vegan, and gluten free. All of those protocols in one meal, which was challenging, but it was amazing. I really loved it.
Yeah, they were amazing.
Yeah,
and I remember she does it all, folks. She makes beautiful music and she makes beautiful food. And so we met there and we were chatting a bit, and at that time you shared with me that you were kind of like, I don't know about hiatus, but you were kind of like, I'm donezo with the music industry. So you want to talk to me maybe about like where you were at then and like kind of where you're at now, because you're much back into music now.
I had just gone through a really challenging couple of years. I had been with a management team that was pretty scammy, man. They were just, not the right people. And this is just, you don't know until you know. Unfortunately, you just can't really tell. Trusting people, it's just like trusting anyone in life. And I had just gone, I'd been producing music and trying to kind of develop my sound, and was doing everything on my own, and it was really challenging. And then this team had set up a meeting with a very renowned producer and then music industry personality, whom I'm not going to name. But I had a meeting with this person, and the entire meeting in front of my management, also who happened to be there, this gentleman just, completely sexually harassed me the entire meeting. It was wildly inappropriate. And it's very sad because oftentimes those gestures work on many women that are hungry for success. And it's so disheartening. But here's the thing for me, I grew up, like I said, with a father who was always warning me about that stuff. But when it actually happens to you, it's total, like, you're just like, get the fuck out. Like, you just like can't believe it. You're like, is this real? Like at one point in the interview, this man asked me to stand up so he could like look at my body and assess that part of my, you know, abilities, I guess you could say, assets. And, you know, I felt like it was a meat market. I just felt like, you know, I was being put on display here, and it was just disgusting. I felt so violated in that moment. And I remember I sat down and I said, yeah, I got a big ass, before he could tell me to turn around, because I was just like, I couldn't stand the feeling any longer, that I was just like, yeah, I got a big ass. And I sat down. You know what I mean? Like, I just didn't want to be objectified any longer. And so, you know, when I left the meeting, I remember my manager was like, oh, I think he has a crush on you, like trying to play it off, because I think he knew it was like lawsuit worthy. And I was just like, yeah. And like, what happened in that moment was considerable trauma. And like I said, I had known about this stuff, but I hadn't known, if you know what I mean. And so it put me into this. I mean, here's the thing, is like this, like I said, this industry is so challenging that you're already like one battle after the next battle after the next battle. And you're already feeling like this level of defeat, even if you do have wins, which I had wins in between. But like, you know, it's just this constant uphill battle. And then when that type of thing happens that completely defiles the integrity of who you are as a person, and you're looked at as an accessory and as just a money-making item, it just sent me into like a downward depression spiral. And I was like, I need a fucking break. Like, I just immediately was like, I can't right now. And that's so sad, right? Because music and my art and is a form of outlet for me as a human being on this planet. You know, like, it's so disgusting that, you know, somebody can demoralize you in one meeting and just kind of shame you almost from wanting to do what makes you happy, you know. But that's just what we face, I think, oftentimes in every industry, on our climb to the top as a woman.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, but I do think the music industry is like exceptionally gnarly.
It's disgusting, man. Nobody really knows. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I grew up in it and I still didn't even know. And there's so much that I've seen since then now that I'm just like, LO fucking L, if the world actually knew, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. And, you know, I appreciate you sharing that, you know,
Yeah.
and I think as a woman too, like I've experienced, you know, somewhat similar circumstances. And in your head before it happens, you're like, okay, I know what happens. I know harassment happens and this and that. And you're like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to say that. And,
Nothing
you know,
can prepare you.
the freeze, fight or fawn instinct comes over you, and you're just and it's always like, as much, nothing can prepare you for it, okay? Like, as much as we think we know or whatever, it's just like it always catches you off guard. I want to say too, like in many different ways, like whether it's like going through a traumatic experience with that, like really being shot down by someone that you admired or looked up to or whatever, you know, and taking a break sucks, you know what I mean? Like you were saying, like, this is like,
it took years out of my whole process, which is, as women, we don't really have time, you know?
Yeah. Right.
So,
right.
It was and I even did pursue, at one point, I pursued some legal advice regarding the issue. And then there was like, well, New York has a statute of limitations, but then, you know, LA, where it happened, you know, you have up to 10 years, but like, to be very honest, you know, his lawyers are just going to inundate you with papers and it's going to end up being like, you know, not worth it. But I wanted to, you know, like, sue for like damages, because I had to go to therapy. I mean, like, I was like, do I even do this anymore? Which is like, that's not, I mean, like, obviously we are all in every, you know, life is full of tough love and challenges. But as I said, there are enough already, let alone something of this nature, which is just inappropriate and violating of a person's dignity and morale. So that was what I wanted to like kind of like fight for and like say fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
But like, this guy's like I said, has probably done this before. It's worked for him. That's why he's doing it in the past. So he's prepared to handle this, and he has the resources. So I was like, oh well, I just fuck me then, and then I'll just But I took 2 years off, and that's when we met. And I was just like a nanny, and I was cooking and catering on the side and doing other things that would fulfill my spirit and kind of heal me in one aspect, right? And little by little, it came back to me, and I am forever grateful to that because, that again, it shows me I was placed. I like to think about that. I was placed into this family for a reason, and I was placed into this time frame in the world for a reason. And it came back. And so I went full speed ahead, and the pandemic hit, which actually even like more so thrusted it both thwarted and thrusted me into, what I mean? But yeah, so now we're back in the game, and we're back in it.
Before we move on, I do want to say, like, I think so. I'm currently in a place of like I've really kind of put my like coaching and like I make courses and stuff to the side because I got really burnt out. And there's a lot of shame around that I have, and a lot of guilt of like I need to like put this thing down. But I think that this is a natural part of the process as a creative. And I've had to like come to terms of like I just need to put it down. And like I've been taking like figure drawing classes.
Good.
I'm just kind of like following the muse wherever, and like getting back to making art again, and just giving myself some space. And I think that it's beautiful that you were able to like, okay, I need to like put this aside for now and like try other things and whatnot. And I think that is also a part of the healing process too, so I really commend you of like, and to say to people too, it's okay to like try something new, take a break. Like I think about Joni Mitchell. She was a painter before she ever became a singer-songwriter, and that was a practice that she had all throughout her life. Or even there's other artists and musicians, they try different things, right? Yeah. Like outside of what they're known for. And it only really, I think, enhances the art.
Absolutely.
Enhances the creativity. And it's not linear, right? Like I think capitalism and probably especially in the music industry, like want to keep you on a schedule. You need to release an album or singles every so often, stay in the public view. But life is not like that, right?
That's not what life is at all. Life is like, I think about it. If you didn't have to make money and you needed a break from something, you'd go take a break. Like the Buddha said, I eat when I'm hungry, I sleep when I'm tired. I looked at that time in my life while I still had to survive and have a job. I looked at that entire time as rehab and just, a siesta from, I just out of sight, out of minded something that I had to do. I remember when I always talk about this. When I was a little girl, I would fall down and get hurt, and the parents would run over, and I'd get up and I'd run away from them. And I'd say, don't touch me, don't touch me, don't touch me. I just need a minute. I need space. And I think as creatives, we need space. We need independence. We need breathing room. And whatever that looks like is totally acceptable. Like there's no, like you said, capitalism, there's all this narrative that pushes this type of pressure. And fuck that noise. I mean, like I said, if we didn't, like, I loved learning. In that time, I learned so much more about cooking. I was taking pottery, and I made some amazing pieces. Like I was cultivating my essence in so many other ways. And while that might have taken time, it was important for healing. I mean, like, I have a cut from the other day that, like, if I it's healing time, time, time and space give you so much. And yes, you will have scars. I'm gonna have this forever, but whatever, I healed. So yeah, it's just not to be cheesy with these metaphors, but as creatives, it's the most. We need time to do nothing. Whether you're traumatized by something or not, we need time to just kind of reeval and reassess. We're constantly, turning over new cells in a way of who we are. And I don't know, I think that, yeah, that's what you're doing now, I think is important for your whole, journey and, you know,
Yeah, and I think that's how we up level too, you know?
absolutely.
And so so speaking of since that time, since I met you
Yeah.
and you were on this music hiatus, you've done some really extraordinary things.
Thanks.
And so yeah, talk to me about like so what did it look like when you're like maybe I should make some music? Like maybe I should like get back into this. Like
Oh
what
man.
what did that look like and how
Well,
did
it's funny
how
because
did
like,
that get the wheels turning
well,
again?
during the wheels were never not turning. That's the crazy part is that like I hear stuff like audio audio hallucinations, one might call them, but I constantly the vessel, we are all vessels, but I was kind of trying to clot the vein there, but it would still, especially when you do mindless things where your ego is a little bit separate. So like when you're washing the dishes or walking home from the bus stop or taking a shower, just, those things, it would creep in. So I was like, I would literally just tell myself like, no, stop, not now. Like, I'm not ready to receive this. And then it just wouldn't stop. I was like, all right, I guess I'll write this goddamn song, like, but a huge part of what happened was I had been I've been asked to write for a lot of different artists, friends of mine. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll start doing that again. And that was fun. And then I actually, I've signed some NDAs. So I'm not really allowed to talk about it, but there is a massive artist that who has released some albums in the past few years. And, I was asked by her, A&R to write for these projects. And with that came like a monumental like year and a half of just constant writing and collaboration and just you know what's the word I'm looking for um grind like just the grind was just nonstop um creating and writing and it was that was another boot camp, no matter how good you think you are, you're just going to get better and better. So I was thrown into writing camps with like tons of different writers, which I can't stand because I'm just like writing for me. I mean, like writing for me is such a personal thing. It's a very vulnerable thing. It's like taking a shit. I don't, it really is. It's like taking a shit. I don't want to take a shit in front of a bunch of people. I just don't. And, but when I am in those writing sessions, I end up becoming like, like 85% of the track is written by me because I end up having to just like I see a clear vision and I go for it and I'm just like, all right, fuck it. I have to grab the bull by the horns and somebody has to lead, which is why I got the nickname. Actually, the captain, El Capitan, was one
I
of the
love
A&Rs.
that.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was mingling with all of these different writers and really talented people, which was so amazing. And it challenged me, pushed me, made me better. And yeah, so that, I got very close with those projects. But alas, that was not a successful, I guess we should say. I mean, it was successful in a way, but it wasn't like the final goal was not achieved. But regardless, it was amazing. And in that time frame, I was able to start working again and start writing my own stuff again, which was like I allowed myself that because I was like I was like in these spaces like I'm so good at this. And it's like, I would get so nervous. I would honestly think I'd be on my way to a session. I was like, I have nothing left. How am I going to write another song? I don't know how I'm going to, what else can I write about? I'm running out of ideas type shit. And my father, I remember calling him and he was like, Lindsay, he's like, I used to help everybody at my jingle house all day long, write all their songs. And then it was like 12 a.m. and I'd have to work on my version. And I was like, I'm all fresh out of ideas. And he's like, I would just tune the radio to whatever station. Like, let's say he had to write a pop song, he'd go to a pop station. Or if he had to, the genre was rock, he'd kind of tune into a rock station. And I just tap in for a little bit. And then I get that, I get it. And I just, there's always more coming. It's never, you're just bottomless. It's just never going to stop. And I was like, whatever you say, Dad, like, I don't, and then I would, fast forward 3 hours later, be writing something I never knew existed before. That's like one of my favorite things too about being a musician and being a lover of music as well, is like, I love the fact that I haven't written yet my next favorite song, or you have yet to hear your next favorite song isn't even out yet. There's all, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I can't wait to eat that pizza again. Oh, I've had that pizza before, but it's like, we don't know. There's another song that's being written right now or conceived in somebody's brain right now, or produced, or is about to come out, that you're like, oh shit, that's my shit. You know what I mean? That hasn't happened yet. And it's always going to come. And that, what a fucking gift it is to be able to deliver that or be able to receive that. It's just what, like, that feeling you get when you want to play the song over and over and over and over and over again in your car. That is so amazing. Like that first initial euphoria, falling in love with a person or whatever. It's like the same feeling. But long story short, yeah, that's what brought me back. And then it was just like Dane, my partner, and I, it became just the two of us, just like endlessly, we were bleeding music just every day. That was separate to that project, but now for my project, and then for other people's projects, like we were just starting to make really cool ideas alone, and then we started making really cool samples, and then we got calls to start doing replay work for people, replaying samples. That the sound recording wasn't clear, but we had to reproduce the publishing side of it, which was just reproduce the song to sound exactly like it, which, since we both are so nuanced, we have this like nuanced skill, which is emulating, we could do really well. And then we started making our own like really cool like analog. Anyway, that's how the sample thing happened, but I'm rambling now. But that's how I got back into it. Was really just like, that project was just kind of like I said, it chose me.
Yeah. You got thrown into the deep end, which I think is great. So I used to be a graphic designer, and I worked at agencies, and eventually I just got really burnt out from it. It was like not the healthiest work environment, but the positive side of it was the community of working with other creatives, like working in close proximity to them, staying up late at night, finishing decks and stuff like that, and really get thrown into the deep end and like out of my comfort zone. There's so much magic in that. And again, as much as like I can't stay in that mode of like, I couldn't stay in that mode of like working for agencies and staying up all night to work on pitches and whatnot. That's some of my best graphic design work that I did, was the 3 a.m. shit,
Yeah.
And it definitely like, it's good to, it's like boot camp, like it's good to like get involved, get other people in there. And I'm very similar to you. I need to like go away. I need to like block out the world and really like, maybe this is like our cancerness or something. I don't know. I'm trying to make an astrology analogy, of course, always.
Yeah.
Of just like, I need to go into my shell, and like have some sparks, some ideas, and then I can bring it out and like collaborate with people and stuff. But yeah. And so, okay. So Dane is your partner. Dane is fucking incredible. And then you guys work together as Used People.
Yes.
yeah, so you guys make samples, like you guys work together, you guys live together. Wait, how you guys are also lovers? Is that okay for me to
Mhm.
blow up your spot? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys are so amazing together. Also, um Lindsay and Dane performed. We have friends. They have this like amazing music studio that they put together this amazing little weekend. And you performed and Dane performed. You performed together, and your mom came and she like fucking tore the house down at the end. And it was like a truly magical weekend. It
Really
was like
special.
so incredible. Y'all were really
Mhm.
amazing. And I just love to see you. I love everyone needs to go follow Lindsay on Instagram and Dane.zone. I'll link everything. You guys are always on the beat, like always on the grind, making things and like sharing content. It's really incredible. Anyways, all that said, wait, how did you meet Dane?
Dane and I went to the same college, but we never met there. But
Which is Berkeley School of
yes,
Music.
which is Berkeley College of Music, and which my mom also went. But we didn't meet there, but we did know we had a lot of the same mutual. We just barely overlapped, but we didn't meet um because I had gotten a degree from a different college before I going to Berkeley because my dad was like, you probably shouldn't be a musician. Well, guess what? So I spent like 5 years at a different college, and then I went to Berkeley. And I was only at Berkeley for 3 semesters, and then I went on tour singing backup for these bands. Um, and so we never met. Um, we are like a year apart, so we would have but we didn't. So he had been in some really cool band, and then I had been doing my thing in Boston, and like my sax player on my gig one night was live streaming from the stage, and Dane caught the live stream, and I remember he followed me from that, and I was like, oh, it's that guy from that band. Like I just, it's like I didn't, and then I guess a year later, he said he saw me coming out of the bagel shop in Brooklyn, and thought that I lived in New York. So he like slid in my DMs, but like not in a creepy way, like at all. Just like responded to something on my story or something, and we found out we lived like a block away from each other, and then we hung out all the time, and then the rest is history.
Oh, and that's amazing. So what is it like to live with your partner, work with your partner?
Challenging, very challenging. We have to kind of we've come up with this like thing where it's like, okay, is this a roommate issue? Is this a relationship romance issue, or is this a working issue? So there's we have to compartmentalize into three essentially. And it's not easy. I highly recommend couples counseling, to kind of help guide you through it, because nobody can predict that this is like, but also like he has his own like former trauma from his previous relationship where they were also working together, and it didn't go quite as healthily as it should have. And we're just navigating this terrain as we go. But communication is the most important thing, no matter what you're dealing with. So that's kind of how we address stuff. Is this a roommate issue? Like, is this a living house situation? Like, are you pissed at me about that? Or is this, a relationship issue that's like deep within us that we need to talk about in our own lives and whatever? Or is this a work dynamic issue?
Yeah,
And
I love that.
sometimes it's all motherfucking three. Sometimes it is
Sure.
literally all, I feel like you didn't tell me about that snare because you're always afraid of telling me things because you don't want to, like it becomes like this whole thing. But, what I always say to him is like, well, if we have love, that's all that, that's the foundation. Those are the bones. So we can work through this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Y'all are to bring stupid business jargon into it. You're mission aligned. You know, like you're right. Like the love is there. The obviously you two are like I love seeing you two together. Like I think the love translates into the music because the music is
That's the most, that's well,
incredible.
thank you. Thank you so much. That's all I would ever want, honestly.
Yeah, and right, and I think like with any team sport or music partnership or business partnership or just romantic, it's like we have to like,
Yeah.
all right, shit's gonna get tough.
Yeah. No
Like
relationship is
the
easy.
love's got to be deep.
Exactly. And if it's not there, then you walk away. You know, if that element's not there, then it's not worth it. But
Yep.
no relationship, no friendship, no form of relationship is ever going to be a walk in the park. I mean, it feels like it sometimes, and then you're like, oh wait, no, this is a lot of work actually.
Yeah.
Nothing will happen. So yeah.
Tell me about, so how do you guys collaborate? Like, do you have like a sketch of an idea and then you bring it to him? What does that look like?
It looks different every time, honestly. But sometimes a lot of the time I will start writing something. And then I'll be like, yo, this is fire. And then I'll bring it to him and he'll flesh it out. Or he'll have an idea and be like, yo, this is fire. And then he'll bring it to me and I'll be like, oh, I hear this. Boom. Or we will have a third party come in, like a keys player. Like we have Daniel Abraham was my keys player from years ago. He's brilliant. He's doing stadium tours right now with Keisha Cole. He's played for Sid. He's played for Janelle Monáe. Or Aja Grant on the keys he's the keys player, arranger he's done a lot of stuff for Mac Miller, for Phony People, Beyonce. Like, I mean, his stuff is amazing. He's got like viral, like audios on TikTok that are viral. So we'll bring them in or something like that. And like, we'll just work with, Aja, play this, or like he'll just play something and then we'll kind of add, a bass, or I'll produce them out, play it like 16 notes or what, like we'll just kind of utilize them and have a collaborative experience. But it looks different every time, pretty much.
And tell me about your process. Like how do you start a song?
Great question. I don't
question.
have a specific process. Like sometimes it's like I'm doing the dishes and it shows up, you know what I mean? And I'll grab my phone and I'll, voice note something if I don't have the time to, like, if I'm driving or whatever. But, sometimes it's really just like divine intervention stuff comes at me. Or sometimes I will get a word, I'll hear a word or a phrase that I'm like, that's an amazing concept. And I'll just open my notes and I'll start writing keywords or poetry about it. And then I'll start hearing the lines and I'll start hearing everything. And then sometimes a lot of times if I have a track, for example, that I get sent like this, I'm working with this producer now for this artist. He'll send me a track, but if I go to top line it, I'll just gibberish. And it's usually those syllables end up staying the same syllables. I'll just find words that work. But yeah, I mean, it's truly, that's what's so amazing is there's no regimented. There's, I do have my own set of skills when it comes to like, okay, so now we're writing the pre-hook and now we're writing, like that type of stuff. I have more of a formulated thing. Okay, so now I have to talk about, and then I get really, really meticulous and really thorough. It's like, I want an internal rhyme here. I want these last two lines to sum up the verse that leads us into the chorus, conceptually, lyrically. When it comes to lyrics and when it comes to that stuff, I'm very, very, very thorough. I'm like, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. I can't, it's like, have you seen the movie Soul? It's like when the guy is playing the piano, he leaves. And that's like, part of my ego is gone. Like the ego is gone. And it's just me and love, God, whatever you want to call it, the divine. Yeah. I mean,
Is there I feel
you know what I
very
mean?
much the same way. A lot of it too, I find as a creative is like you said, walking away
Yeah.
and distracting yourself, right? Because when we're so hyper focused, sometimes it won't come to us because we're kind of like in the
Burnout.
way.
Yep.
Yes, and burnout. So talk to me like do you have okay, like I got a song that I need to write or I have something. Is there things that you do to like get you in the vibe? Or like if you are feeling like creatively burnt out, right? It's the 11th hour. Is there any like practices you do or any like kind of rituals that you do to help you get in that place?
Sometimes it really is about like, I can't do this tonight and I'll revisit it. But if I really need to, there's a deadline or whatever, I will like light a candle, or I will pour myself a glass of wine or a glass of beer, or I will just sit and go for it. And as my father would always say, think quantitatively, not qualitatively, meaning just start, get the ball rolling, and you might surprise yourself with what comes next. Um, so it's like, for example, I had this project with this guy sent me a folder of beats for this signed major label artist, and is like, he loves my writing, and he's like, please, I just want to cut from you, please, 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 please. And there's so much going on in my apartment, and I'm just like, I'm like, I'm so drained, I can't do this right now. But the other day, for example, I had a lot of anxiety for some reason. I was like, after work, I was at home and I was trying to relax, but I couldn't because I was just anxious for some reason. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this anxiety that I have and thrust it into this project, and see if I can write something. And I had like already dabbled with it and like came up with like a little idea, but I was feeling the burnout and I had just walked away from it. But then I took all of this energy that was just kind of this cortisol and all whatever the hell it was, and I came in here and I knocked it out of the park. Like, I just went for it, and it was, it worked out. So I don't know. I don't know if that answers the question very well, but um honestly, also, like, I love rhyming dictionaries. I used to study them when I was growing up. I love that stuff. I love to learn on the internet. So like, I'll look up idioms and I'll look up meanings behind things and certain words and phrases, and that gives me inspiration for things when I'm not feeling fully inspired. Um Even ChatGPT sometimes can like help stimulate me, which is like, and this is new, obviously AI is a new thing, which I've never had before, but like, I've been learning now, like, because when I go prompt it something and then it responds with something absolutely ridiculous, I'm just like, fuck this, I got that. Like, the robots are not like, it gives me that like confidence that I'm better than a robot.
They're not taking our jobs away just yet.
Just
There's
yet.
a lot of kinks to work out.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's certain things if I'm feeling really, but honestly, sometimes just time and space is the best remedy for that.
Love
But
that.
yeah.
Love that. Save for the people in the back. Like I at this point in my life, like I know my creative process very well.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's good.
And so I always describe, I mean, not to say that like, like I'm always jamming on the one, just like figuring it out. But it's like, I get an idea, right? And it's like, I'm on the mountaintop and I can see to the end, right? Like I can see to the other side of where I want to be, and I have all this excitement and all this momentum. I know where we're going. Oh my god, it's gonna be fucking sick, right? And then we start going, like, right, because I'm at the mountaintop, so I go down the hill and I'm in the valley, and in the middle, I'm in the valley. I can't see shit. I can't see where I'm going.
I hate that. That's so real. What a great
like,
metaphor.
You're lost
in the valley.
Like, I'm exhausted. Like it's cold down here.
Yeah, you lose the literal perspective of where you want to be.
Yes. And
Wow.
that's the time where I know I need to walk away. I need to
Yeah.
take a break. I
Yeah.
need to go sleep, eat, go do something else
I do the same
completely,
thing.
and then come back to it. And again, like kind of what we were talking about before about like capitalism and stuff and like this like hustle culture thing of like don't let it go, you know what I mean, like you gotta finish. No, sometimes, and I appreciate too, like you talk about your creative process almost as like a spiritual practice, which
Yeah.
I very much resonate with too, of like sometimes you just need to take a break, and it's okay, there
Yeah.
is
Totally.
time, like, and to create that helps us, I think, remind us that there is space
Yeah.
to take a break, and like let the muse kind of inspire you. So I take a break, I come back, and I have energy, and I'm like, okay, I remember where I was going.
Yes.
And then I walk, and then I imagine like I'm climbing back up the hill, and then we, complete the project there.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, that's why Europe has the siesta.
Yeah,
We
dude.
just need more
Yeah.
siestas because especially as creatives in creative jobs, roles in any kind of corporate position, like it's just we're so drained, and it just like it honestly rapes us of our creative creative
I
source.
think too, it's having, it sounds like you have a very solid relationship with yourself and with your creativity. And I think in my opinion, that is crucial for any like artist or creative. Because of course you can read books and you can, like listen to podcasts like this and hear like all this outside influence. And it certainly can be helpful and inspiring, but ultimately, you I need to know myself, right?
That's
Like
the
I need to
biggest
know when
problem this biggest struggle was identity. And
okay.
like no matter how successful I become or how many people love me, my identity as an artist has been the biggest struggle. And like, I mean, I'm telling you, there will be big wins, and I'm still like, am I really supposed to do this? Am I sure? Is that, was that just luck? Like there's a lot of this imposter syndrome ass internal dialogue where I'm just like, did I really find my sound, or did I? And here's what I have learned. It's that's always going to be there. I would write a song and I would be like, it's so good. I'd come on, mom, it's so good. I'd play it for her. I'd go out to eat, grab a bite. I'd come back and be like, it fucking sucks. And my
Mm.
mother would be like, Lindsay, that's like the most typical artist thing ever. Like we are our own self-perception is the worst. We're our own worst critics. But here's what I've learned. And it's only just continuing to do. Obviously, we want to avoid burnout. We want to practice healthy balance, like we were just talking. But like the only way you're going to know thyself, like we were just saying, and that part of being an artist and a whatever endeavor and whatever you do, is to quiet that inner monologue, is to keep doing and to keep throwing to the wall and see what sticks. I'm 36 years old, and I just had, like last Saturday, I just had my first full length original show. I've performed original music for years, but I've never done a full length 7 to 8 of my own original songs back to back with my own band. I would do a bunch of covers and like 3 to 4 of my originals, or just 3 or 4 originals. I've never done a full length, right? It took me 36 years to do that. And let me just tell you, the minute I did that, I was like, oh, I'm a fucking star. Like, I started to understand. And in the past, I'd be like, oh, this song worked or this song didn't work. But like, if I had been doing this more, then I would have been honing those skills and practicing the identity part of it, which is, a very lucrative and an integral part of being an artist, is knowing your sound and the whole flow, the whole style, everything, your brand, right? And it just clicked for me last week for the first time. And that has given me a confidence that I could have had a long time ago. But I was too paralyzed by fear in the past. But so doing is honestly the most important part of it. Like, don't be scared. People reinvent themselves all the time. Don't worry. Just do. You got to work out the kinks. You got to figure it out.
You're I yes, keep it moving. Keep
Keep it
it moving.
moving.
Like I think you can call it imposter syndrome. I made a I made a reel a few months ago where I was just like talking to myself, and I was just like, I'm doing this podcast, and I put myself out there as like a coach for creatives. And every day in my head at some point I go, am I a stupid idiot? Like, who gives a shit? Like, who the fuck do I think I am? And I come back to that sentiment, that you shared. And like, I love reading about my creative heroes and stuff like that, because it inspires me and it keeps me going. And it's just like, you just got to fucking do it. You know what I mean? Like, no one is going to put a tiara on your head and say, like, you are talented enough to call yourself Lindsay Lucas, or like David Bowie or whatever. He just, like,
Nobody's going to give you that validation but yourself. I mean, it's
yeah.
really, you got it. Nike had it right, man. Just fucking do it.
You just, yeah. And by the way, I saw clips from that show, and
Oh man, it was
you were
amazing.
you were on fire.
Thanks,
You
dude.
you were so in it. And I honestly, every time you moved to LA a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
while ago, and like, every time I see you like post something on Instagram, I'm like, fuck, I want to get to LA. Like,
It's
I
the
want to.
best
I
fucking
know
place.
so many beautiful musicians and creatives out in LA. I'm like, I just want to like nerd out and go to everyone's shows. and
I didn't even see. I can't
and
even look out the window. But the
what's that?
window, I said, I was trying to show you out the window, but it doesn't. The glare, but it's just the most beautiful day here right now, and it's just saturated with artists everywhere and things to inspire. So is New York, obviously, but it's amazing what it's done for me.
Yeah, wait, talk about that for a second. So you were
Yeah.
in New York for a long time, and you and Dane moved out to LA. Tell me about that move.
I had wanted to move out here for a long time. And right before the pandemic, I was going to do it. And then I met Dane, and like it was just like the pandemic. So like I couldn't really do it. And then we got this opportunity. So like I got signed to a label out here, a sync label for my sync project, which is under a different name, VYVA. And that's very different music. It's like an alter ego of mine that is very like Lana Del Rey, Billie Eilish, um, for television and movies. And they wanted to do a photo shoot with me, and I was like, I just want to get the hell out of New York since I've been stuck in the house for 3 years. And so we came out, and immediately I was like, we need to jump. We need to just leap and the net will appear. And we did. And we found this amazing place. And, it hasn't been easy. I was making close to six figures in New York as a wedding singer. And I came out here, and I did get in a wedding band out here, but there just wasn't as much work. And the jingles were kind of declining, and like the writer strike hit. So it was like the timing, just when you think things are over the rainbow, they're not. It's always going to throw another something at you. So I got a part-time job again, and I said, I don't really care. I'm not moving back to New York. I have more peace in my life living here than I did there. And like I said, this is relative different for every human being. Everybody has their own sense of what peace looks like, and this is what peace looks like for me. I wake up every day, the sun is shining, the sky is blue, and I'm foraging lemons from my porch. Lemon.
Love it.
What else could I want? I'm cooking with the doors open, with the wind blowing through my house. Like, that brings me peace. You know, I love New York, bro. I'm a New Yorker forever. I'm born in Manhattan, but like I found something else here. And there, it's a little bit more isolating as far as like it's not like, community I could run into, but I still run into people, and I still have, you still build your own community here. And yeah, it's been really awesome. I'm really glad we did it. But music has been picking up, and I've been in lots of different sessions with lots of different people, and met incredibly talented people everywhere I go. Like I said, it's saturated with artists, and New York right now is dead with work in the music industry. It's weird. And you can live anywhere and do music, especially now that everything is more remote. But like, I'm telling you, man, this is it. This is it.
I love LA. I can't wait to come back.
Not cheap, but it's amazing. It's so worth
No,
it.
but it's a vibe, and like I always have a really good time in LA. It's just like a very different atmosphere, which I certainly appreciate.
Yeah, like another planet, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have like I know you and I know Dane, and there's a friend of mine, she's a DJ, Jaylee. She owns Red Light Vinyl, and it's a collective of all female DJs. I want to have her on the podcast for sure.
Oh my God,
She's like,
I want to go
I have
visit.
so many I have so many like girl crushes out in LA, and I like can't wait to come and
Well, we all
go to
crush
all your
that too,
gigs.
obviously. That's why you curate all of us.
Yes. So we're gonna wrap, so I can let you go soon. But I have 2 more questions for you. If that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So first is kind of a selfish confessional turn question for the podcast audience, which is, so in this space that I've given myself, like taking a little bit of a break from my business, with coaching, I'm getting back to like just drawing and making art and just being, it's springtime on the East Coast, and just enjoying nature and giving myself just some space. And as you know, I'm a music nut, and I have been singing a lot to myself, and just thinking a lot about like, instead of just appreciating, like, what if I made some music? And whether that looks like singing or even like trying my hand at songwriting and stuff. So for myself, and also like for anyone listening who like also has the itch to make music but doesn't know where to start, like do you have any advice or any suggestions like on where to start, maybe like writing a song, or like I've been singing to myself a lot lately, and I had a voice lesson with you a few years ago.
I was gonna say, you have a beautiful voice.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to hear this.
And so I like to mimic as many different singers as I can, just as like a fun vocal exercise and stuff like that. But anyways, yeah. So do you have any like advice or suggestions, like of just like dipping your toes in to make music?
Well, I'm so happy to hear this, because this is exciting for you. I mean, I was going to say, the number one thing I always tell people as writers or beginner writers is to listen to as much different music as possible. But I don't have to tell you that. But listening and downloading as much into your musical vocabulary is so integral. And that means every kind of music possible, from like Fela to Dolly Parton, to 90s R&B deep cuts on an SWV album, to like James Taylor. Like you just need just as much shit as possible. Just like listen to a lot, and not just things that you like. It's so important to consume and digest, because that, like I said, will just enhance this vocabulary. You'll just, be like an AI at that point. You'll be able to access such a variety, such a vast spectrum of melodies and styles and techniques. The other thing that I love to tell people that are just getting started is keep a notes document on your smartphone device. And anytime you get an idea, you write everything the fuck down. Everything. Write everything down. Do not hesitate. Just write it down. And that means, like, I have several, and you can title it lyrics or whatever, and you can pin it so that you can just blah, 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 blah. Like I have one that just has like phrases, and then it has just keywords, things that I think about. And that's really cool, because when I start writing something, I can just open that file up and say, tap back into that moment and tap back into that thought, and let's just kind of go to that place. And so, there are rules, but there are no rules. Just follow your heart with creating, and I think just, you know, whatever speaks to you, also like subject matter, all that stuff, just go for it. Just start, quantitative over qualitative. Those are the three. Listen, quantitative over qualitative, and like push it out, and get it out, see what sticks. And then also keep those notes. Did I get them all? I think I got them all.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take that as a homework assignment.
Yeah, I hope that helps.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, I've been, I mean, my God, I've been ruminating on it my whole life,
Yeah.
and like we talked about,
Well,
I know
yeah.
I just need to like just start writing ideas down, right? Like,
Might
because I've
be.
definitely been in, 99% of my time I'm in consumption mode of music. So now it's time to like, what is some lyrics or some things
lyrics
that I'm
are
feeling.
one thing. Creating the canvas musically is another thing. So collaboration too is like another amazing thing if you're just getting started. Like, don't be afraid to reach out to somebody that that might be similar to you, like might be like just getting started but has great, guitar skills or whatever. And just go for it. I mean, everybody now has a garage band, so just throw it up and start, there's not, what do you have to lose? Some time. But that time is never in vain. You know what I'm saying? Like you were saying, the space that we take, that's not in vain. That's a whole part. That's part of the process. It's part of the sum of the parts, right? It's the whole.
And you'll never get anywhere if you don't start. So, and we all have to
100% of the shots you don't take.
Yes. Exactly. And so we're gonna wrap things up. And before we do, like, where are you at now? What's coming up for you?
Oh my goodness.
What are you working on right now?
So much. So much. I am preparing this, like if you look over here, I have a whiteboard. There are 18 to 22 songs that are almost all done, that are, some are just conceptualized, some are need to record, that are fully written, some I need to finish like a second verse, but like they're pretty much all done. Some have a lot of amazing features on them. But the plan right now is get everything finished and start. I've been dealing with some different, like, just kind of going through. There's been managers that were kind of beating down my door at one point, and then there were some that were flaking. So I'm just trying to get all my ducks in a row and start looking at some distribution. I have a lot of mixed feelings on labels, especially as someone who has been signed to one or a few. But it's like, yeah, just kind of at this point, just preparing for the next step, which is some bigger outreach. Maybe
you
touring.
As an artist,
yes,
or
an artist. I still am writing all the time for other people, and I'm like, that's always going to be there. But I'm focusing a lot more on me as an artist, which is amazing because I'm really good at it, and I'm finally I finally really believe that. Like, I've always believed that, but now I have like conviction, and all it took was just putting myself out there.
I love that, and I adore you. And as
Thanks,
a huge fan of yours, that makes me so excited and happy that you are investing time into your career as an artist. Everything that you do is really incredible. And one of my favorite songs is "You Got Me." Everyone should go search that on Spotify. I love that song. It's so beautiful. I was listening to your Spotify before this to kind of get me in the Lindsay Lucas vibe.
We're putting together a live album from the show because everything was multi-tracked and we got it all and it was filmed. So we're going to be mixing that down real soon and dropping that. So stay tuned.
Wow. Oh my God. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Band was amazing.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. You are so incredible. Thank you for sharing your story with us and your beautiful process. And just let the folks know where they can find you.
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram. Is one of my biggest forms of communication with the outside world. At Linstagram, at LINDSTAGRAM.
Amazing.
At Instagram. And then on there, you can see my link tree, which is a bunch of links to my YouTube and everything else, my TikTok, all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much just on there.
Love it. Perfect. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Yeah.
And obviously she's on Spotify too.
Oh, I forgot. Thank you. That's the most, yeah, you can get to my Spotify from my Instagram, but my Spotify is Lindsay Lucas. I mean, there's thousands of those out there, but yeah, You Got Me is a way you can find me. I have a song called Plans. If you forget how long You Got Me is. So
24/7, idle hands, open. She's incredible.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Natalie.
I'll talk to you soon.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey there. Thank you so much for joining our podcast today. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you would consider liking, subscribing, and even leaving us a comment. This way, it will help us to keep the podcast alive and continue to bring you some really awesome interviews and nuggets of creative wisdom. So thank you again for checking us out. I'll see you next time.